What up, guys? Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Chat. And this week we're going to be talking about the state of Impact Wrestling. As of right now, it's August 2021. So we're going to talk, just spend a tiny bit of time in the history, but this show is going to be more about where they're at now and what the future possibly holds. So I'm sitting here watching some classic TNA wrestling. Great match, Mickey James versus Tara. Oh man, they had a great rivalry in TNA. They both beat each other for the championship. Um, Speaking of that, I would love to see Tara back in an Impact ring and be inducted to the Hall of Fame this year. That's just my wish. We did see Mickey James make a couple appearances, although she does work for NWA because her hubby Nick Aldis is over there, and he's the NWA World Champion. But yeah, I'd love to see Tara, come back, get inducted to the Hall of Fame, maybe have a couple of matches. She did prove at the Royal Rumble that she could still do it. Yeah, never know. Uh, so yeah, guys, let me just talk briefly a little bit about the history of TNA. Of course, they started in like 2002 from the ashes of WCW. Once right after they went out of business, came TNA. And you could see some of the remnants of that in the early TNA. They had some of the leftovers from some of the leftover talent from WCW, including AJ Styles, right? Because he was there right at the end of WCW, him and Christopher Daniels, and they went on to be huge stars in TNA. I think Lex Luger made a couple appearances. I think they had Roddy Piper. I remember so he made a couple appearances, and I honestly didn't think all that much of it. It just seemed similar to the dying days of WCW, where you had Jeff Jarrett was the top guy, and he did co-create TNA. But I always found it kind of annoying that he's always made himself champion. It got a little old afterwards. Like, come on, let somebody else win. you know. Uh, but yeah, you gotta respect Jeff Jarrett for that. He is the co-founder, along with his father Jerry Jarrett, who he had his own promotion way back in the day. A very popular promotion back in the territory days. Yeah. So again, I didn't really think all that much of it. I thought, yeah, they had some great talent, AJ and Samoa Joe, and definitely had some good talent like Kazarian and Christopher Daniels, and they had some great matches. But I always thought the storylines were off. They had Vince Russo as the head writer. Once again, the remnants of the WCW there, and he continued to make some bad storylines. I will say the one thing I liked that he did was the beautiful people. I thought was cool. Velvet Sky and Angelina Love, that was classic. But they had a lot of stupid gimmick matches, like one I just watched earlier, Clockwork Orange match. I'm like, what the hell is this? Yeah. But, I always felt like they had something bad going on, and a lot of times that nullified the great wrestling matches and the great talent and the great athletic ability of guys like AJ Styles and man, and Samoa Joe and stuff like that. But and then came, they had Sting. To me, finally kind of legitimized TNA. I think I was like, wow. That's when I was like, wow, they got Sting. I thought he would have went to WWE or WWF or whatever. But he chose TNA, so I was like, wow, he chose this smaller company. I guess he wants to try and help them out. And it was cool. He had some great matches, and then you had Kurt Angle come in, and I was like, ooh, you got Sting, you got Kurt Angle, this is pretty cool now. So it's starting to become something, but again, they still had Russo there for a while, and they had like Jim Cornette, I remember, was there for a little while. Yeah, they still had some bad stuff going on, but they also had some exciting stuff too with Kurt Angle. And then, of course, they brought in Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan, and, I was curious as to what they might do. I kind of figured they probably are in it for themselves, not really to help TNA too much. I think they were just doing that to stick it in the face of Vince, but then they realized quickly that TNA is not big enough really to stick it to WWE, and they made the foolish mistake of trying to rekindle the Monday Night Wars. I'm like, TNA is just not at that level, I don't care how many ex-WWE guys they had, and they had a number of them at that time. They had Jeff Hardy and people like that. And they had a hell of a roster. You had Kurt Angle, Sting, Jeff Hardy. But they just were not established enough. Even though they're on Spike TV, Spike TV, it's not a huge network, It's not big enough to take on the monster. They just were nowhere near, and they got annihilated, and they kind of tucked their tail and ran and changed to like Thursday nights, quickly, and that lasted like 3-4 weeks, and they were like, all right, we're retreating now. They lost, and they were never even in the fight at any point. So let's fast forward to today, 2021, post-pandemic. And in the pandemic, they did very well, I feel like they really made a comeback, with some great storylines, some great characters, really building up their roster. Real solid stuff, And with the acquisition of the Good Brothers, Anderson and Gallows, who had a huge run in WWE, multiple time tag champions. That was a big deal. Everyone was like, "Oh wow, the Good Brothers," and that worked. That really worked. And everybody's like, "What's gonna happen at Slammiversary?" And it ended up being a huge success for them. They trended #1 worldwide, and that was a big deal. And then they started doing this kind of inter-promotion, cross-promotion with AEW, who is a big success right now. And they're acquiring a lot of the old WWE stars, like Christian and the Big Show, Paul White, and Miro, who is Rusev and WWE. They're doing a lot of big signs, and there's rumblings right now that Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are gonna go there, but which should be interesting. But they've been working with Impact, and they had Kenny Omega crossover into Impact and take on the world champion of Impact, and he won against Rick Swann was the champion at the time. So yeah, Kenny Omega is now Impact and AEW champion currently, and he's defended the title quite a few times now. So yeah, he's on top of the world, top of the mountain of pro wrestling. He's the AAA champ, he's the Impact champ, and the AEW champ. I think there was one other one, I can't remember. Oh, maybe New Japan, I'm not sure. I think he has 4. And the funny thing they just announced yesterday was Christian is going to take on Kenny Omega for the Impact Championship, not AEW. Which is funny because they both work for AEW, Christian is an AEW star, he's not Impact. So it's just weird that he's defending the Impact Championship on AEW television. So it's interesting, and that could be interesting. What if Christian wins? He's gonna have to go to Impact, and he could have a cool run in Impact. I think, because he had been there before too, several years back. This is if you see the cat here, that's Bella. So that could be interesting. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff going on in Impact Wrestling. I think it's a great time for them. We saw the fans come back finally, after over a year of playing to an empty arena. They finally got the fans back at Slammiversary. It's been great, and they've been on all the Impact shows ever since. And, you can feel the passion, the energy of the fans, and that's a great feeling. And they really make it exciting, the product was already really good, but now it's even better with the fans, and they're just loving it. You got a great faction like Eric Young, who recently made his return at last Slammiversary. He created this kind of faction called Violent by Design, and they're just killing it. They're running roughshod all over Impact. They were the tag champs for a while. They used like the Freebird rule. First it was Rhino and Joe Doring, this big, huge cowboy dude. And I got Diener, who before that was like this cheesy kind of cartoonish redneck character. He was kind of lame. He had long hair, and he was like, I don't know, just like a beer drinking redneck, kind of a cheesy character. But he shaved his head and made him like badass. Now he's like cool and everything. Yeah, I just love so much of what they're doing. You got Eddie Edwards, who's been like the face of Impact Wrestling, because he's been with them through all the ups and downs of recent years. Like the GFW era, the Billy Corgan era, which was just abysmal. How he survived that, I mean, Impact is so lucky that they didn't die right then and there, but somehow they survived, and Anthem came in and took over, and they have some decent money behind them. And they got Don Callis and Scott D'Amore, the co-executive vice presidents, running the show, and they've done a great job. They've molded it into something strong again, and right now I think Impact is better than ever. Dare I say that, because everything is working, all the storylines, all the characters. They're doing a great job at some of the ex-WWE guys like Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. They're having a flourishing career now in Impact, where they were kind of cast off to the side in WWE, and we're seeing how talented they are now. And you got some great returning people like Chelsea Green, who was recently released. She showed up at Slammiversary, so it was great to see her back. She had a great run, and she was a previously Knockouts champion when she was Laurel Van Ness, the Hot Mess. Yeah, so we've seen a lot of great returns. James Storm recently came back for a while. I'm not sure what he's doing right now. And you had the Motor City Machine Guns come back. But I guess we had Alex Shelley kind of left, so I don't know where he stands right now. It's just been Chris Sabin on his own, but he's still killing it. He's a fantastic athlete. Yeah, the badass Sami Callihan, who just took on Kenny Omega, had a great hardcore match for the championship. That was a blast. You got Moose, who's so talented, ex-football star, and he's just gotten ripped to shreds now. But I love his character too. He's like really intense dude. Yeah, he's awesome. I liked his little run when he was TNA World Champion. When he had the old TNA belt that he found somewhere and just decided, I'm going to call myself the World Champ. That was really good, and he's just killing it right now. he's definitely the future of Impact. I think he could easily be world champion, and he'd have a great run with the title. I could definitely see him beating Kenny Omega for the championship. But my personal pick is Eddie Edwards. Needs to be the guy, the Mr. Impact Wrestling. To me, he's Mr. Impact. He needs to be the one to take the championship back to Impact Wrestling and wear it proudly and just defend the honor of Impact. And it'll be, the fans, I think, would just go nuts for that. I think they would love it. I think that's the way it needs to be. He can lose the title to Moose a couple months later or whatever. I mean, come on. But I think that would be huge. But who knows? Christian could win, again. So who knows what the hell's going to happen. It'll be interesting. Because recently, the Good Brothers also defended the Impact titles in AEW against one of their teams. But luckily, they won, so they didn't lose the championships. That would be crazy. What else? See, you got the Bullet Club making a resurgence in Impact Wrestling. You had the leader over in Japan, Jay White, come over and kind of challenge Kenny Omega, who was the original Bullet Club, along with the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks, and of course AJ Styles at one point. Finn Balor at one point in Japan. But now it's Jay White and some of his... and they recruited Chris Bay from Impact, so now he's an official member of the Bullet Club, so that's another really cool thing. So you got people from all these different companies. You got New Japan people coming in, you got NWA people coming in. Melina just showed up from NWA, who's of course ex-WWE star, taking on my favorite women's wrestler, the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo, who I just love. She, to me, is probably the best, arguably the best knockout of all time. Probably the best knockout of all time is Gail Kim, but definitely right now, she's my favorite women's wrestler. She is the queen, literally now, the queen of Impact Wrestling. And I think she's the queen of all wrestling. We see her taking on people in AAA, we see her taking on women in NWA, and it's just a matter of time before she takes on the AEW champion, and there's been rumblings of that, Britt Baker. So I would love to see that. Make that happen at Bound for Glory. Write it right now. Deonna Purrazzo versus Britt Baker for the AEW Women's Championship and Impact. Let's make it equal. None of this one-sided crap, because I'll be honest, it's been pretty one-sided lately with, it's been on the side of AEW. They've been the ones that have been benefiting more so than Impact for me, but things could switch, because now you got this Christian thing that could turn into something, I think it's going to heat up soon, You might see the Young Bucks come over and challenge the Impact Championship. Yeah. Things could really heat up and get really exciting. I think Bound for Glory is going to be huge this year. Because originally it was like the Super Bowl of Impact. It was originally the WrestleMania of Impact, but in recent years that hasn't been really the case. Slammiversary has been the big one, but I think this year it could turn out to be the bigger show. I would like to see that. I think some big things are going to happen with all the different companies at Bound for Glory. There's gonna be some huge matchups, and I think Christian will definitely be one of them. He'll be in there. So mark my words, Christian is gonna show up in Impact Wrestling. Yeah, so right now I'm just excited. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. Not so much in WWE. It's a little bit... I like some of what they're doing in WWE. I like Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre and stuff. Sheamus, I still love. But it is a little bit stale sometimes, and they've gotten rid of some big talent like Bray Wyatt. Can you imagine if Bray Wyatt showed up in Impact Wrestling? That would be awesome. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I would love it, especially see him. A lot of people have said, imagine if he was with Decay, that would be perfect group for him, you know, with the goth stuff, with the Rosemary and I'm loving Decay right now. Rosemary, Crazy Steve, Black Taurus, and now Havoc, Jessica Havoc, who I love, and they are the current Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Rosemary and Havoc, and they're just awesome. I'm loving it. So yeah, loving the Knockouts Tag Team Championships being back. The Knockouts division in general is just awesome. I think right now you got Tennille Dashwood, you got the tag teams going on, Rachel Ellerling, George and Grace. Awesome. And you got Chelsea Green, who I'm sure is going to make a run for the championship soon, you know. Right now she's tagging, doing the intergender stuff, but she's going to be going for that Knockout Championship soon. For sure. And she's doing a great job, though. And I could see a couple more big-time, maybe returns, or maybe Melina, who knows. But yeah, I could see a couple. I think they could use maybe a couple more big stars, maybe have Kylie Ray come back, or... But yeah, State of Impact is great right now. I love it, and I think they're only going to go up from here. They're not going to look back. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger, and hopefully maybe at some point they'll get a better television deal, you know. Also, I do have the Impact Plus network, which I love, so I can watch all the old stuff as well as each week catch up on Impact Wrestling, you know. So yeah, they're in a great place right now, and I think it's only going to get better from here, bigger and better, and I think they're destined for greatness once again, you know. Alright guys, that's it for the State of Impact Wrestling in August 2021. Thank you for joining me in the Pro Wrestling Chat. Take it easy, guys.